Junyo walked into the xenobiology classroom with his stomach full of butterflies. He was the only human in this class. Around him sat creatures from dozens of different worlds. Some had scales that shimmered like metal. Others had too many eyes or too many legs. A few looked almost normal until they moved in ways that made his head hurt. He found his seat near the back corner. The desk was too big for him, made for students twice his size. His feet barely touched the floor. Junyo pulled out his datapad and tried to look confident. He had been at the Galactic Academy for 3 months now, but he still felt like everyone was staring at him. And they were. Humans were new here. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 2 years ago. Most aliens had never seen a human before coming to this school. Professor Velcanis clicked into the room on her 6 legs. She was an arachnus covered in dark purple fur with 8 glowing eyes. Junyo had gotten used to her appearance by now. She was actually a kind teacher, even if her face couldn't smile the way humans did. "Good morning, students," she said through her translator device. Her real voice sounded like clicking and humming, but the device turned it into words everyone could understand. "Today we have a very special lesson. We will observe live specimens." The door at the front of the class opened. 2 guards wheeled in a large metal cage. Something inside growled. Something big. Junyo sat up straighter. Around the room, students began to whisper nervously. Professor Velcanis tapped the cage with one of her legs. "These are juvenile Krethax predators. They come from the planet Velthar, a Class 7 death world. These cubs are only 6 months old, but they are already skilled hunters." Junho leaned forward to see better. Inside the cage, 3 creatures paced back and forth. They looked like a mix between a big cat and a wolf, but bigger and more dangerous. Their fur was black with silver stripes. Sharp claws clicked against the metal floor. When one of them yawned, Junho saw teeth that could easily bite through bone. Their eyes glowed yellow in the classroom lights. "Deathworld predators are some of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy," the professor continued. "Today you will learn to identify their hunting behaviors and threat displays. Watch carefully," she nodded to the guards. They looked nervous. One of them pulled a lever on the cage. The door swung open. For a moment, nothing happened. The 3 cubs stayed inside the cage, sniffing the air. Then the largest one stepped out. Its nose twitched. Its ears turned, listening to every sound. The other 2 followed. And then chaos exploded. A Chithari student, who looked like a giant mantis, screamed and jumped straight up to the ceiling. Her species could stick to any surface, and she pressed herself flat against the tiles. 2 of her friends followed her up. The Vexians, who were made of living crystal, activated their shields. Blue energy barriers surrounded them with a loud humming sound. They huddled together, their faceted bodies reflecting the classroom lights in 100 directions. The Draken students, huge reptilian warriors who usually acted tough and fearless, backed away toward the walls. Their scales changed color from green to dark gray, which Junho had learned meant they were scared. One of them knocked over a desk in his hurry to get away. Within seconds, half the class was trying to get as far from the cubs as possible. Some students ran for the door, but the guards blocked it. This was supposed to be a controlled lesson. No one was allowed to leave. Junho stayed in his seat. He was confused. Yes, the cubs looked dangerous, but they were just babies, right? The professor wouldn't let them out if they were going to hurt anyone. Would she? He watched as the 3 predators walked slowly across the classroom floor. They growled low in their throats. Every time a student moved, their heads snapped in that direction. Their eyes locked onto any movement. The cubs were hunting, not for food, but for something. They moved like they were looking for the weakest member of a herd. Every student who ran or hit or made noise became interesting to them. One cub jumped onto a desk and roared at a Vexian. It was a small roar, more like a loud meow, but it still made the Vexian shrink back behind his shield. Professor Velcanis watched with all 8 of her eyes. She tapped notes into her datapad. "Observe," she said calmly, as if students weren't panicking all around her. "Notice how they test each potential target. They are looking for fear responses." Junho forced himself to breathe slowly. His heart was beating fast, but he remembered something his grandfather had told him. Back on Earth, his family lived near the mountains. Sometimes wild animals would come near their home. His grandfather always said that running made you look like prey. Staying calm was safer, so Junho sat still. He kept his breathing steady. He didn't make any sudden movements. His hands rested on his desk. He watched the cubs but didn't stare directly at them. Another thing his grandfather had taught him: direct eye contact could be seen as a challenge. The cubs finished checking the other students. Every alien in the room had shown fear in some way. Hiding, running, making loud noises, activating weapons or shields. And now the three predators turned toward the only student who hadn't moved. The only student who sat quiet and still in the back corner. They turned toward Junho. The human felt his stomach drop. Maybe staying still had been a bad idea after all. Maybe he should have run like everyone else. The cubs walked toward him slowly. Their claws clicked on the floor with each step. Click, click, click. The sound seemed too loud in the now quiet classroom. Other students watched from their hiding places. The largest cub reached Junho's desk first. It was almost as big as he was, even though it was still a baby. Its yellow eyes stared at him. Its nose was close enough that Junho could feel its warm breath on his hands. Every muscle in his body wanted to move, to run, to do something. But he forced himself to stay still. The cub sniffed his hand. Its wet nose touched his skin. Then it sniffed his arm, his shoulder, moving up toward his face. Junho could smell it too. It smelled like dust and something sharp like metal. The other two cubs circled around his desk. One sniffed his backpack. The other one watched his face, and then something impossible happened. The largest cub made a sound. Not a growl or a roar. It was softer, rumbling from deep in its chest. Almost like purring, like a cat. Junho's eyes went wide. Was this Deathworld predator actually purring? Before he could think about it, the cub did something even more shocking. It jumped up and put its front paws on Junho's lap. Its weight was heavy, pushing him back against his chair. And then it turned in a circle, just like a dog getting ready to lie down. And it did. It curled up right there on Junho's lap, its big fluffy tail wrapped around its body. Within seconds, it closed its glowing yellow eyes. The Deathworld predator fell asleep on the human's lap. The other two cubs saw this and apparently decided it was a good idea. They jumped up too. Junho's chair creaked under the weight. One cub squeezed onto his lap next to the first. The third one draped itself across his shoulders like a very heavy, very dangerous scarf. All three of them started purring. The sound vibrated through Junho's whole body. The classroom was completely silent. Every student stared. Every guard stared. Even Professor Velcanis had stopped taking notes. Her translator device made a crackling sound like it was broken. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. She tried again. Still nothing. Junho sat very still with three sleeping predators on him. He was afraid to move. He was afraid to breathe too hard. Slowly, very slowly, he raised one hand. He said quietly. Professor, is this normal? The xenobiology department building looked like someone had kicked a hornet's nest. Scientists rushed through the hallways. Doors opened and slammed shut. People shouted in a dozen different languages, and translator devices struggled to keep up. All of this chaos was because of one human student and three sleeping predator cubs. Junho sat in Medical Bay 7. The cubs were still with him. The largest one remained on his lap. It had woken up once, stretched, and then gone back to sleep. The other two had moved to curl up on the medical bed beside him. Every time someone tried to take them away, they growled. Not at Junho, at everyone else. So the medical staff decided to just leave them where they were. Hyunwoo burst through the door. He was Junho's roommate, another human from Earth. His eyes went huge when he saw the sleeping predators. What did you do? He asked in Korean, then remembered to switch to standard Galactic. Junho, everyone is talking about you. The whole academy is going crazy. Junho shrugged carefully, trying not to wake the cub on his lap. I didn't do anything. They just came to me and fell asleep. Just came to you? Hyunwoo walked closer but kept his distance from the cubs. These things are from a death world. They eat creatures twice their size, and they're sleeping on you like you're their mom. The door opened again. Professor Velcanis entered, followed by 4 other scientists. One was a floating jellyfish-like creature in a tank of water. Another looked like a tree with too many branches. The third was covered in scales and had a head like a turtle. The fourth was hard to describe, its body shifting between solid and gas. Cadet Junho, Professor Velcanis said, her 8 eyes focused on him. We need to run some tests. For the next 2 hours, they scanned him with every device they had. They checked his blood, his DNA, his brainwaves, his hormones. They measured his body temperature and his heart rate. They even checked what he had eaten for breakfast. The cub stayed asleep through most of it. When one doctor got too close with a scanner, the largest cub opened one eye, growled softly, and the doctor backed away fast. Dr. Saris, the tree-like scientist, reviewed all the data on his datapad. His branches rustled, which meant he was thinking hard. "There is nothing unusual about this human's biology," he said finally. "No special pheromones. No telepathic abilities. No genetic modifications. He is, by all measurements, a completely normal human." "Then why?" Professor Velcanis asked. "Why did the Krethax cubs bond with him? They have never done this before. We have used these cubs in classes 12 times. They always behave like normal predators. They threaten the students and then we guide them back to their cage. But this time they found a pack leader," said a new voice. Everyone turned. A woman walked into the medical bay. She wore a white coat with the symbol of the medical department. She was human, with short black hair and tired eyes. Her name tag said Dr. Minji Park, Xenopsychology. "Dr. Park," Professor Velcanis said. "Do you have an explanation?" Minji walked over to Junho and smiled at him. Then she looked at the sleeping cubs. "May I?" she asked. Junho nodded. Minji slowly reached out her hand. The largest cub sniffed it, then pushed its head against her palm, asking to be petted. She scratched behind its ears. The cub purred louder. "I've been studying Earth animals for the past year," Minji said. "Specifically, I've been comparing them to creatures from other worlds. Earth is unusual. It's classified as a death world, Class 8. But unlike most death worlds where one or two species dominate, Earth has thousands of predator species, and humans evolved right alongside them." Dr. Saris rustled his branches again. "Many species evolved with predators." "Yes, but most species either became prey or became predators themselves," Minji explained. "Humans did something different. They learned to cooperate with predators. Ancient humans lived with wolves, which became dogs. They lived near big cats, near bears, near every kind of dangerous animal. They didn't just survive these creatures. They learned to understand them, to read their body language, to know when a predator was hunting and when it was just curious." She continued scratching the cub's ears. "Humans carry this knowledge in their instincts now." When Junho sat still, he wasn't showing fear. He was showing respect, calm awareness. The cubs recognized something in his behavior. Something that said safe. Something that said pack. The room was quiet. Everyone was thinking about what this meant. Hyunwoo spoke up. "Wait, you're saying that because humans evolved with so many predators, we naturally understand them? Like all predators?" "Not all," Minji said, "but many. Especially pack hunters. Especially creatures that have social bonds. Krethax are pack animals. On their home world, cubs bond with the pack leader when they're young. The leader protects them, teaches them, keeps them safe." Professor Velcanis made a clicking sound. "Are you suggesting that these cubs see Junho as their pack leader?" Minji nodded. "I think they do. Look at them. They're completely relaxed. They feel safe. In the wild, Krethax cubs only sleep this deeply when they're with family. But he's not a Krethax," Dr. Saris said. "He's not even the same type of creature." "That doesn't matter to them," Minji replied. "They don't understand what species are. They just know that this person feels right, smells right, acts right. To them, Junho is pack." A new person entered the medical bay. This one made everyone go silent. He was tall, covered in silver scales, with eyes like burning coals. He wore the uniform of the Galactic Council, Ambassador Thexler of the Sovereign Collective. He looked at Junho and the cubs with disgust. "This is unacceptable," Thexler said. His voice was cold. "Humans have been in the academy for barely a quarter cycle, and already they are causing chaos. First, they survive training exercises meant for species twice their strength. Then they befriend species that find them disturbing. And now this, bonding with Deathworld predators like they are pets." Professor Velcanis straightened her body. "Ambassador, this is a scientific matter. We are still studying what happened." "I have already studied enough," Thexilor said. "Humans are from a Class 8 death world. They are unpredictable, dangerous, and now we see they have an affinity with predators. Do you understand what this means? If humans can bond with Krethax, what else can they bond with? What other dangerous creatures will follow them like tame animals?" Junho felt his face getting hot. He was tired of people talking about him like he wasn't there. "I didn't ask for this," he said quietly. "I was just sitting in class. I didn't do anything special. That is precisely the problem, Thexler said, turning his burning eyes toward Junho. You didn't try, and yet deadly creatures chose you. Imagine if your people did try. If they went out and deliberately bonded with the most dangerous species in the galaxy. You could build an army that no one could stand against. That's not what humans want, Hyunwoo said, stepping forward. We came to the academy to learn. To be part of the Galactic Council. We're not building armies. Not yet, Thexler said. But fear makes people do terrible things. When the rest of the galaxy learns that humans can command Deathworld predators, they will be afraid. Very afraid. And that fear will turn to action. The ambassador turned and walked toward the door. Before leaving, he looked back. I will be recommending to the council that humans be quarantined from predator species. For everyone's safety. He left, his silver scales reflecting the medical bay lights. The room felt colder after he was gone. Minji put her hand on Junho's shoulder. Don't listen to him. Not all species think like he does. But Junho couldn't stop thinking about the ambassador's words. He looked down at the cub sleeping on his lap. It looked so peaceful, so innocent. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't dangerous right now. It was just a baby, far from home looking for someone to trust. And somehow it had chosen him. What's going to happen? Hunyo asked. Will they take the cubs away? Will they send me home? Professor Velcanis made a soft clicking sound. I don't know, Cadet. The council will have to decide. But until then, she looked at the sleeping cubs. Until then, you seem to be the only one who can handle them. So you will continue to care for them. For research purposes, Junho blinked. You want me to keep them? Someone has to feed them. Exercise them. Monitor their behavior, the professor said. And they won't let anyone else get close, so yes. Until we understand this bond better, you are their handler. Hyunwoo grinned. Dude, you just became a zookeeper. For Deathworld predators. Junho looked at the 3 sleeping cubs. One of them made a small sound in its sleep like a puppy dreaming. He gently petted its head. Its fur was softer than he expected. Okay, he said. I'll take care of them. Outside the medical bay, news of the human and the predator cubs was already spreading across the academy network. Videos of Junho in the classroom, sitting calmly while chaos erupted around him, were being shared from one student to another. Some thought it was amazing. Others thought it was terrifying. And in the highest levels of the Galactic Council, important people were watching those same videos. They were asking themselves the same question Ambassador Thexler had asked. What else can humans bond with? And what would they do with that power? But Junho didn't know about any of that yet. Right now, he was just a tired student with 3 heavy predators sleeping on him, wondering how his normal day had turned into the strangest day of his life. 3 days had passed since the incident in xenobiology class. Junho's life had become very strange, very quickly. He woke up each morning with 3 Krethax cubs sleeping on his bed. They followed him to the cafeteria for breakfast. They sat outside his classrooms waiting for him. When he walked through the academy hallways, other students pressed themselves against the walls to let him pass. Junho hated it. He didn't want to be famous. He didn't want people staring at him all the time. But mostly he didn't want people to be scared of him. And they were. Not because of him, but because of the 3 cubs that walked beside him like loyal guards. The cubs had grown attached. Professor Velcanis said it was expected. Once Krethax cubs bonded with a pack leader, they didn't want to leave. Junho had to take them for walks 3 times a day in the academy's outdoor exercise area. He had to feed them raw meat, which was disgusting. He had to clean up after them, which was even more disgusting. And he had to keep them calm when other students got too close. The cubs had names now. Junho had started calling the biggest one Bam, which meant spring in Korean. The middle one was Hanul, meaning sky. The smallest, who was actually the most playful, was Bjol, meaning star. The cubs seemed to respond to these names, turning their heads when he called them. Right now, Junho was walking through the main corridor toward the library. Students scattered as he approached. A group of Chitauri students climbed up the walls to get out of his way. 2 Vexians activated their shields even though Junho was still 20 meters away. He sighed. Bam looked up at him and made a questioning sound. It's okay, Junho told the cub. They're just scared. They should be, said a voice behind him. Junho turned. It was Daeho, one of the other human students at the academy. He was tall and broad with a smile that never seemed to go away. He studied engineering and was probably the most popular human in the school. "You look like you're leading an army, man. It's actually pretty cool." "It's not cool," Junho said. "Everyone thinks I'm dangerous now." "You are dangerous," Daeho laughed. "You have 3 Death World predators following you around. That's literally the definition of dangerous." Hanul sniffed Daeho's leg. The cub had learned that most humans were safe. Junho had introduced them to all 15 human students at the academy, and the cub seemed to understand that humans were pack. Extended pack, at least. They didn't sleep on other humans like they did with Junho. But they didn't growl at them either. "Have you heard what people are saying?" Daeho asked, his smile fading a little. "About Earth?" Junho shook his head. "What are they saying?" "Some species are calling Earth a predator world now. Not just a death world, but specifically a world that produces predator commanders. There's a rumor that the Council is going to send investigators to Earth to study our planet, to see if all humans have this ability." "That's stupid," Junho said. "I'm not special. This just happened." "Yeah, but try telling that to the Council." Daeho patted Junho's shoulder. "Just be careful, okay? Ambassador Thexler has been giving speeches about humans. He's trying to make people scared of us." Before Junho could respond, an alarm started blaring. Red lights flashed in the corridor. Students stopped moving. A voice came over the intercom in Standard Galactic. "Emergency assembly in the main hall. All students and staff report immediately." "This is not a drill." Junho looked at Daeho. "What's happening?" "I don't know," Daeho said. "But we better go." The main assembly hall was huge, big enough to hold 3,000 students and staff. It had a high ceiling with windows that showed the stars outside. At the front was a stage where professors and important visitors made announcements. Right now, the entire academy was gathering there. Students whispered to each other, trying to figure out what the emergency was. Junho found a spot near the back. The cubs pressed close to his legs. Bom seemed nervous, her ears flat against her head. She could sense that something was wrong. Hyunwoo found Junho in the crowd and pushed his way over. "Do you know what this is about?" he asked. "No idea," Junho replied. Other human students were gathering near them. There were only 15 humans in the entire academy, and they tended to stick together. A young woman named Yuna joined them. She studied medicine and was always kind to Junho. "Are you okay?" she asked him quietly. "I'm fine," Junho said, though his stomach felt tight. Something about this felt wrong. The hall grew quiet. Dean Corseth walked onto the stage. He was a Methodian, a species that looked like 4-armed bears. His face was serious. "Students," he said, his voice amplified by the hall's speakers, "we have called this assembly to address growing concerns. Over the past 3 days, there have been incidents throughout the academy. Arguments, fights, fear. All of this centers around one topic: the human student and the Krethax cubs." Junho felt everyone's eyes turning toward him. His face burned. Bayal pressed against his leg, sensing his discomfort. Dean Corseth continued. "Today we have a special visitor. Ambassador Thexler of the Sovereign Collective has requested to address the student body." The silver-scaled ambassador walked onto the stage. His burning eyes scanned the crowd until they found Junho. A cold smile crossed his face. "Thank you, Dean," Thexler said. "I will be brief. The Galactic Council is concerned about the recent events at this academy. We are concerned about the unpredictable nature of humans. We are concerned about their ability to bond with dangerous predators, and we are concerned about what this means for galactic security." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Some students nodded in agreement. Others looked uncomfortable. Thexler raised his hand for silence. "I have come today to issue a challenge. I want to demonstrate that humans are not special. That this bonding ability is not natural but rather a trick, a manipulation. Perhaps the human used technology. Perhaps he drugged the creatures. But I do not believe these predators truly see him as their leader." Junho's heart was pounding. Where was this going? "Therefore," Thexler continued, "I challenge the human Junho to prove his bond is real. I challenge him to demonstrate that he can truly command these creatures. Can he keep them calm in a stressful situation? Can he protect others if the predators become aggressive?" The ambassador turned to look directly at Junho. "I challenge you, human, to prove you are truly their pack leader. And if you fail, then humans will be restricted from working with any predator species in the galaxy. Forever." The hall erupted into noise. Students shouted. Some agreed with the ambassador. Others argued against him. Dean Corseth tried to restore order, but it took several minutes before the crowd quieted down. Junho stood frozen. He could feel the cubs pressing against him. They were confused by all the noise, all the emotion in the room. This wasn't fair. He had never asked for any of this. He just wanted to study and learn, but now with thousands of eyes on him, he had no choice. I accept, Junho said. His voice was quiet, but somehow everyone heard it. The hall went silent. I accept your challenge, Ambassador. Thexler's cold smile grew wider. Excellent. Then let us begin now. Dean, clear the center of the hall. Students and staff moved to the sides, creating a large open space in the middle of the hall. Junho walked forward slowly. The cubs followed him, their claws clicking on the floor. His mind was racing. What was the ambassador planning? What kind of test was this going to be? When Junho reached the center of the hall, Thexler walked down from the stage to face him. The ambassador was tall, towering over the human by at least a meter. His scales gleamed in the lights. The test is simple, he said. I am going to demonstrate threat. I am going to make these creatures believe I am dangerous. If they attack me, you have failed. If you cannot control them, you have failed. And when you fail, the entire galaxy will see that humans cannot be trusted with predators. Junho swallowed hard. What are you going to do? Watch, Thexler said. He turned to face the cubs. And then he roared. It was a sound that made the windows shake. It was a sound that triggered every prey instinct in the room. Students gasped and backed away. The roar was deep and terrifying, the kind of sound that evolution had programmed into every species as a warning. Predator nearby, run. The three cubs reacted instantly. Bomb's head snapped up. Her ears went forward. Her lips pulled back, showing all of her teeth. Hanul and Buell moved to flank her, forming a protective triangle around Junho. Their playful behavior vanished. Now they looked like what they really were, deadly hunters from a death world. Thexler moved closer. He raised his arms, making himself look bigger. He hissed, a sound like steam escaping from a pipe. The cub's growls grew louder. Bomb's claws extended. Her muscles tensed. She was getting ready to attack. Junho could see it, could feel it. In another second, she would launch herself at the ambassador. Everyone in the hall held their breath. This was it, the moment that would decide everything. Junho had to act. But what could he do? How could he stop three predators that were ready to fight? And then Junho remembered something. Something his grandfather had told him during their camping trips. When an animal is scared, you have to show them you're not. You have to be the calmest thing in the room. Junho took a deep breath. He pushed down his own fear. He let it drain away until all that was left was calm. Pure, steady calm. Then he did something that looked absolutely crazy. He turned his back on the ambassador. He ignored the threat. He knelt. The Galactic Council chamber was a place designed to inspire awe. It floated in space, a massive ring-shaped station with windows that showed entire star systems. Inside, representatives from 200 different species gathered to make decisions that affected trillions of lives. The chamber itself was circular, with seats arranged in rising tiers so everyone could see the center stage. Today, that center stage held a human student and 3 Krethax cubs. Junho had never been more terrified in his life. Around him, alien beings watched from their seats. Some looked curious, some looked angry. Some were impossible to read because their faces were so different from anything he knew. Hanul and Buell pressed close to his legs. They could sense his fear, and it made them nervous too. Ambassador Thexler stood at a podium across from Junho. His silver scales gleamed under the chamber lights. Council members, he said, his voice echoing through the vast space. I have called this emergency session because we face a potential threat. Humans have been part of our galactic community for only 2 cycles. We accepted them because they showed intelligence and potential, but we did not understand what they truly were. He gestured toward Junho. This human has bonded with Death World predators. Not through technology, not through force, but through something inherent in his species. This is not an isolated incident. We have observed other humans interacting with dangerous species. They show no fear. They approach creatures that would kill most of us without hesitation, and those creatures respond to them. A representative from the Hydrosian collective spoke up. She looked like a floating jellyfish in a tank of water. Ambassador Thexler, are you suggesting we exile humans from the Council? We have laws against species discrimination. I am suggesting quarantine, Thexler replied. Humans should be restricted from certain professions. No human should work in xenozoology. No human should be allowed to handle predator species. We must contain this ability before it becomes a weapon. Junho felt his hands shaking. This was really happening. They were going to limit what humans could do, where they could go, what they could study. Just because he had been kind to 3 scared cubs, a voice in his head told him to stay quiet, to let the important people decide. He was just a student. What could he say that would matter? But then he felt Bomb push her head against his hand. The cub looked up at him with those yellow eyes, trusting and calm. She didn't see him as a threat or a weapon. She just saw someone who made her feel safe. And Junho realized he had to speak up. Not for himself, but for her. For all the humans who would come after him. Council members, Junho said. His voice cracked a little, but he kept going. May I speak? There was murmuring among the representatives. Finally, a voice boomed through the chamber. It belonged to Elder Matriarch Selenium, one of the oldest members of the council. She looked like she was made of living crystal, thousands of years old, with a presence that commanded respect. The human may speak, she said. Let us hear his defense. Junho took a deep breath. I'm not special. I'm really not. I'm just a student trying to learn. When those cubs were released in my classroom, I didn't do anything magical. I just stayed calm. I didn't run or scream or try to fight. I just sat there. And why did you stay calm? Asked a reptilian representative with a voice like grinding stones. Because running seemed wrong, Junho said. On Earth, my grandfather taught me about animals. He lived in the mountains where there were bears and wolves and big cats. He told me that if you run, you look like prey, but if you stay calm, you show respect. You show that you're not a threat. Junho looked around at all the alien faces. Earth is classified as a Class 8 death world. I know that. But most people don't understand what that means. It doesn't just mean we have dangerous creatures. It means we have thousands of dangerous creatures. Humans evolved alongside all of them. We didn't just fight for survival. We learned to coexist. He could see some representatives leaning forward, interested now. He continued. Ancient humans lived with wolves. Eventually, those wolves became dogs. We lived near big cats, near bears, near snakes and spiders and sharks. We learned their body language. We learned when they were hunting and when they were just curious, when they were angry and when they were scared. This knowledge became part of us. It's in our instincts now. So you admit humans have an advantage with predators, Thexelor said. You admit you can influence them. I don't influence them, Junho said. I understand them. There's a difference. I can't make them do anything. I can't control them. But I can read their signals. I know when Bomb is happy or scared or hungry. I know when she needs space or when she wants attention. That's not control. That's communication. Elder Matriarch Selenium spoke again. Her voice was like wind chimes, musical and ancient. Young human, approach. Junho's heart jumped. Approach the Elder Matriarch? She was one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. But he walked forward slowly. The cubs followed him. When he reached the base of her platform, he stopped. The Elder Matriarch descended from her seat. She was huge up close, her crystalline body refracting light into rainbows. Your words are interesting, she said, but Ambassador Thexler raises valid concerns. If humans can bond with predators, what prevents them from building armies? What prevents them from using these creatures as weapons? Nothing prevents it, Junho said honestly. Just like nothing prevents any species from using weapons. But most species choose not to. Most people want peace, not war. Humans are the same. We came to the academy to learn, to be part of something bigger than ourselves. Yes, we understand predators better than some species, but that doesn't make us dangerous. It makes us bridge builders. Bridge builders? The Elder Matriarch asked. Junho nodded. There are species in the galaxy that you can't communicate with because they're too dangerous. Too predatory. But maybe humans could help with that. Maybe we could be the ones who translate between peaceful species and predator species. We could help everyone understand each other better. The chamber was quiet. Junho could tell people were thinking about what he said. Then the Elder Matriarch did something unexpected. She reached down with one of her crystalline appendages toward Bomb. The cub was the closest to her. Everyone in the chamber tensed. What would the predator do? Would it attack? Would it run? Bomb sniffed the elder matriarch's crystal form. Her nose twitched, and then gently, carefully she pressed her head against it, the same gesture she gave to Junho when she wanted affection. The elder matriarch's crystal body hummed, a sound of surprise. She touched the cub's head carefully. Bomb's tail wagged. The Death World predator was showing affection to one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. Remarkable, the elder matriarch said softly. She looked at Junho. This creature trusts me because I am near you, because you trust me. Your calm extends to them. She straightened up, addressing the entire council now. I have lived for 3,000 cycles. I have seen many species join our community. Some brought strength. Some brought intelligence. Some brought art or science or philosophy. But I have never seen a species that could speak the language of predators. She turned to Ambassador Thexilor. Ambassador, your fears are understandable. But they are based on assumption, not evidence. This human has shown nothing but kindness. He has demonstrated control without force. He has built trust without domination. These are valuable skills, not dangerous ones. But what if other humans are not like him? Thexilor argued. What if they use this ability for harm? What if any species uses their abilities for harm? The elder matriarch countered. The Draken are powerful warriors. Should we ban them from the military? The Synthari have advanced technology. Should we forbid them from engineering? Every species has potential for both good and harm. We judge them by their actions, not their potential. She looked around at the assembled council. I propose a different approach. Instead of quarantine, instead of restriction, we should study. We should learn from humans. They may have knowledge that could help us understand species we have deemed too dangerous to approach. They may be able to negotiate with creatures we have only ever fought. This is not a threat. This is an opportunity, a vote was called. Junho watched as lights appeared above each representative's seat. Green for agreement with the elder matriarch, red for agreement with Ambassador Thexilor, yellow for abstaining. The lights flickered and changed as representatives made their decisions. Junho held his breath. Everything depended on this moment. The final count appeared on a holographic display. 147 green lights, 32 red lights, 21 yellow lights. The elder matriarch had won. Junho felt his legs go weak with relief. The cub sensed his emotion and pressed closer to him, making happy sounds. It is decided, the elder matriarch announced. Humans will not be quarantined or restricted. Instead, we will establish a new program, Human-Predator Relations. Humans who wish to study dangerous species will be allowed to do so, under supervision and with proper training. They will help us understand creatures we have feared for too long. They will build bridges between species. She looked at Junho. And you, young human, will be... 3 months had passed since the council meeting. The Galactic Academy looked the same from the outside, but inside everything had changed. New classes had been added to the curriculum. New research programs had been started. And new students were arriving, many of them specifically because they had heard about the Human-Predator Relations program. Junho stood in the observation dome, watching a transport ship dock with the station. Inside that ship were more humans from Earth, volunteers who wanted to join the program. His program. It still felt strange to think about. He was only 19 years old, still a student himself, but somehow he had become the face of something important. Nervous? Asked a voice behind him. Junho turned to see Dr. Minji Park. She had become his mentor over the past months, helping him understand the science behind what he did instinctively. She carried a datapad full of notes and research data. A little, Junho admitted. What if the new volunteers can't bond with predators like I did? What if it was just luck? Minji smiled. We've already tested 15 other humans. 12 of them showed natural ability with various predator species. It's not just you, Junho, it's humanity. You just happened to be the first one we noticed. She pulled up a file on her datapad. Look at this. Suman, one of our new volunteers, has been working with void serpents. Those are creatures we couldn't even get close to before. They live in the asteroid fields of the Corinth system and attack any ship that approaches. But Suman went out there with a small team, and within a week the serpents were letting her touch them. Touch them, Junho. Creatures that eat starships for breakfast. How did she do it? Junho asked. The same way you did with the cubs. Patience, calm, respect. She watched their patterns. She learned their body language. She didn't approach them as threats or as food. She approached them as beings worth understanding. Minji pulled up another file. And then there's Taewon. He's been working with nebula raptors. They're these massive flying predators that hunt in the gas clouds of Epsilon Prime. Scientists have been trying to study them for 50 cycles, but the raptors always attacked. Taewon figured out they were just defending their nesting sites. He learned where the nests were and avoided those areas. Now the raptors let his research team fly right alongside them. Junho looked at the images on the datapad, humans standing next to creatures that looked like nightmares. But in every photo, the creatures looked calm. Not tamed, but accepting. It was amazing. "What about the cubs?" he asked. "Are they ready?" Minji's expression grew more serious. "That's what I wanted to talk to you about." Hanel and Biol are almost full-grown now. They're not cubs anymore. In another month, they'll be adults. And adults need to return to their home world, to their pack. Junho felt his chest tighten. He had known this day would come. The cubs couldn't stay with him forever. They needed to be with their own kind. But knowing it intellectually and feeling it emotionally were two different things. "When?" he asked quietly. 2 weeks, Minji said. "We've arranged for transport to Velthar. You'll go with them. You'll help them reintegrate with a wild pack. And then," she paused, "then you'll have to let them go." Junho nodded, not trusting himself to speak. Minji put a hand on his shoulder. "I know it's hard, but this is what's best for them. And Junho, you've done something incredible. You've shown the galaxy that predators aren't monsters, that they're intelligent, emotional beings who deserve respect. That's going to change how we treat countless species." Later that day, Junho took the cubs for their afternoon walk. They weren't really cubs anymore. Bomb was now almost as tall as Junho at the shoulder. Her muscles were strong and defined. Her claws were sharp and deadly. Hanul and Biol had grown just as much. They looked like the apex predators they were meant to be. But when they saw Junho, they still acted like puppies. Bomb bounded over to him, nearly knocking him down. Biol play wrestled with Hanul, growling and tumbling across the grass of the Academy's biodome. "Only 2 more weeks with you guys," Junho said softly. Bomb looked at him, tilting her head. Could she understand? Sometimes Junho thought she could. She made a soft sound in her throat and pushed her head against his chest. He wrapped his arms around her neck, feeling her warmth, her strength. "I'm going to miss you so much." The 2 weeks passed too quickly. Junho spent every moment he could with the cubs. He took them on long walks. He played with them. He memorized the way Bomb's ears twitched when she was happy, the way Hanul purred when he scratched behind her ears, the way Biol always tried to cheer him up when he felt sad. He wanted to remember everything. On the last day, a group gathered to see them off. All 15 original human students were there. Hyunwoo stood next to Junho, his usual jokes absent for once. Yuna had tears in her eyes. Daeho looked sad but proud. Other students came too, even some professors. And Elder Matriarch Selenium sent a recorded message. "You have done well, young human. You have shown us what is possible when different beings choose to understand rather than fear." The transport ship was ready. Yunho walked up the ramp with the 3 grown Krethaks following him. Inside, the ship was designed for their journey. Large, comfortable spaces for the predators, equipment for monitoring their health, and seats for the humans who would make the trip, Yunho, Minji, and 2 other researchers. The journey to Velthar took 3 days. Yunho spent most of that time with Bom, Hanul, and Biol. They seemed to sense something was changing. They were more clingy than usual, always touching him, always nearby. On the 3rd night, as they entered orbit around Velthar, Junho couldn't sleep. He sat with the 3 Krethaks in the cargo hold. They were all curled up together like they used to when they were small enough to fit on his bed. "I need to tell you something," Junho said to them. They looked at him with their glowing yellow eyes. "Tomorrow we're going to your home world. Your real home. There will be others like you there. A pack, they're your family, your real family, and I have to leave you with them." Bom made a questioning sound. Hunyo felt tears starting. "I know, I don't want to either. But you're not supposed to live on a space station. You're supposed to run free, to hunt, to be with your own kind. That's what's best for you." He hugged each of them. "But I want you to know something. You changed everything for me. You made me brave. You taught me that being different isn't scary. That understanding is stronger than fear. And no matter where I go, no matter what happens, I'll never forget you. You'll always be my pack." The next morning, they landed on Velthar. The planet was harsh and beautiful. Red rock formations stretched toward a purple sky. Thick forests covered the valleys. Rivers of crystal clear water cut through the landscape. And in the distance, Junho could hear howling. The wild packs calling to each other. The research team had located a pack that would accept new members. They set up equipment to monitor the reintegration from a safe distance. Then it was time. Junho walked with Bom, Hanul, and Biol to the edge of the forest. This was where he had to say goodbye. The wild pack appeared between the trees. 6 adult Krethax, magnificent and powerful. They watched the newcomers carefully. Bom, Hanul, and Biol pressed close to Junho. They were scared. The wild pack was intimidating even to them. "It's okay," Junho said softly. "They're your family. They'll take care of you." He gently pushed Bom forward. "Go on." "It's time." Bom took a few steps toward the wild pack. Then she looked back at Junho. Her yellow eyes were filled with emotion that Junho could read perfectly. She didn't want to leave. Junho felt his heart breaking, but he knew he had to be strong. "For her, I'll always love you," he said. "But you need to go. Be free, be wild. Be everything you're meant to be." Hanul and Biol moved to stand beside Bom. The 3 of them looked at Junho one last time. Then together, they walked toward the wild pack. The adult Krethax sniffed them, circling them, checking them out. There was some growling, some posturing. But then slowly the wild pack accepted them. The largest adult, the pack leader, touched noses with Bom. It was a gesture of acceptance. Junho watched as his 3 companions disappeared into the forest with their new pack. Part of him wanted to call them back, to keep them with him, but he didn't. Because love sometimes means letting go. It means wanting what's best for someone even when it hurts you. Dr. Minji stood next to him. "You did the right thing," she said quietly. "I know," Junho replied. "It just doesn't feel right." They stayed on Velthar for 2 more days, monitoring the integration. The cubs were doing well. They were learning to hunt with the pack, learning to run through the forests like they were born to do. On the 2nd day, Junho saw them from a distance. Bom was playing with the pack leader's cubs. She looked happy, free. That made it a little easier. When they returned to the academy, everything felt different. Junho's room was too quiet without the sound of purring. His bed felt too empty, but he threw himself into his work. The Human-Predator Relations program was growing fast. Humans from Earth were making breakthroughs with species that had been considered impossible to approach. Suman had established peaceful contact with void serpents. Now ships could pass through their territories safely. Taewon's work with nebula raptors had led to new discoveries about their intelligence. They could use tools. They could plan.